When everyone dismissed the lunch lady, her heartwarming solution revealed a life-changing truth. In the close-knit town of Maplewood, where gossip traveled faster than the speed of light, Mary, the hardworking lunch lady, held a secret. Every morning before the sun peeked over the horizon, she rose to the sound of her alarm clock beeping insistently, the aroma of coffee filling her tiny kitchen while she mentally prepared herself for another long day. As she stirred the oatmeal, the thought that kept her going was simple yet powerful: today, I'll nourish futures. Students buzzed through the high school, an old brick building, with faded trophies cluttered in red and white colors, unaware of the heart and hope she poured into every meal. To many, she was just the lunch lady, maybe a blip in their busy, teenage lives. But for Mary, those meals mattered. There were mac and cheese Mondays, taco Tuesdays, and veggie Wednesdays, all prepared with love and care. Yet, whispers about budget cuts lingered in the air, filling her chest with a tightness that felt like unspoken defeat. A big corporate food service was looming, threatening to swap nourishing meals for pre-packaged wrappers, faster meals that meant fewer smiles. Every dismissive glance from a teenager chipped away at her spirit. Former friends, now draped in success, paraded their accomplishments, their laughter echoing hollow in her ears. Did they see her? Did they even care? The unthinkable happened next. A sudden outbreak of food poisoning rocked the school. Students were doubling over in pain, parents converging onto the school grounds, panic mingling with worry. Mary felt helpless. She was not to blame, not for this and not for the looming threats to the school lunch program. But she couldn't just stand by, that wasn't in her nature. A spark ignited inside her as she thought, perhaps a communal cook-off could breathe life back into Maplewood. It was a chance for families to share their treasured recipes, but more than that, it was about community. As the event neared, families began to sign up, bringing with them stories wrapped in their favorite dishes. Mary saw hope twinkling in the eyes of parents who had once shared brief nods with her during school events. This was a gathering beyond the faded walls of the cafeteria. It was a platform for memories, healing, and unity. However, just beneath this hopeful surface, a nagging fear lingered. Would anyone remember her when everything settled? Would they see her heart hidden in the piles of mashed potatoes and steaming casseroles? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the day of the cook-off arrived, anticipation hung in the air like the smell of freshly baked cookies. The cafeteria buzzed with life, laughter and chatters collided with the aroma of Mom's secret chili and great-grandma's legendary apple pie. But amid all that joy, Mary stood in the kitchen, unnoticed, her heart thudding with every passing second. Would they come for her, the lunch lady? Could this event transform her quiet, overlooked life into a moment worth remembering? The tension in her chest felt heavier as she waited for a spark of recognition from the very kids who had brushed past her day after day. Still, somewhere deep down, she hoped, she believed that maybe, just maybe, they would finally see the extraordinary heart in the ordinary lunch lady. As the cook-off commenced, vibrant decorations adorned the tables, each one a canvas of memories waiting to be shared. The sounds of laughter rose, mingling with the smell of spices and sweets, wrapping around Mary like a warm blanket. Yet, in the shadows of this excitement, her insecurities swelled. Did anyone realize how much she had done? Little by little, families stepped into the cafeteria, some bustling with energy, others slightly hesitant. Mary watched from her corner, stirring the fresh vegetable stew she had made, a dish brimming with colors and flavors, perhaps an embodiment of her own spirit, rich yet often overlooked. Just then, a group of familiar faces caught her attention. It was the football team, the boys who often grabbed lunch with barely a passing glance. They had come, smiles bright, ready to taste and share. "Hey, is this your famous stew?" one of them asked, his face lighting up as a bowl was served. Mary's heart raced. This was the first time she could remember one of them acknowledging her directly. It felt monumental, like a bridge formed from years of silence. "Yeah, it's a special recipe," Mary replied, unable to hide her hopeful smile. As he savored the first spoonful, his eyes widened in surprise. "Wow, Miss Mary. This is awesome." Soon, whispers about the stew echoed throughout the cafeteria. More students crowded around, eager to taste what the lunch lady had prepared. The impromptu praise cascaded like music in her ears, drowning out her fears. The act of nurturing was being recognized. She wasn't just the lunch lady anymore. She was central to this gathering. Families clustered around tables, sharing recipes and stories. Each dish carried a legacy: the richness of homemade salsa, a grandmother's lasagna, a mother's prized banana bread. Mary felt alive, connected to this beautiful tapestry of culture and love. The kitchen shifted from a place of solitude to a space of belonging. But then the clock struck 2. The event was nearing its end. Mary's heart sank a little as she watched the departing crowd begin to trickle away. Voices faded, laughter dimmed. Would this feeling last, or would they revert to forgetting her again, back to just being the lunch lady? Just as despair nibbled at her thoughts, a girl from the back of the room stepped forward, her hands cradling a plate of cookies. "Miss Mary," she called out, her voice cutting through the melancholy. "These are your cookies, right? Can I take some to my mom? She loves them." Tears pricked Mary's eyes. It was a small gesture, but it meant the world. For the first time, she felt branded in their hearts, not as just a lunch lady but as a part of their lives, a thread in the fabric of the community. Watching this unfold, Mary's heart swelled with a mix of joy and relief. Perhaps she was finally being seen, but the doubt lingered: would they remember her when the events faded, or would she slip back into the shadows? As she packed up the last of the dishes, Mary pondered the future. With the community awake to the power of shared nourishment, what would she do next? The question hung in the air, lingering like the last note of a sweet melody. And deep inside, she felt ready to take another leap into the unknown. But would she dare to share her story beyond the lunchroom walls? As the last of the families filed out, Mary let out a shaky breath, her heart still fluttering from the day's events. The laughter echoed in her ears, but now it felt bittersweet as the cafeteria began to clear. It was strange how much noise had filled this room just a moment ago, and how quickly the energy shifted. She looked at the colorful decorations that adorned the tables. So much effort, so much life. Would she be able to conjure that happiness again? Still clutching the plate of leftover cookies, she decided to clean up the remnants of the festivities. Each scrape of the metal against the ceramic was a small reminder of her impact, a silent victory that stirred something new within her. As she worked, she reflected on the girl's innocent joy in asking for her cookies. Here was the simple truth: those cookies, made with her own hands, were part of someone's cherished moments. The hum of the fluorescent lights above buzzed softly, almost rhythmic. With the heavy silence of the cafeteria closing in, Mary realized she was on the brink of something significant. Thinking about the conversations she had overheard, the families sharing and laughing, a flicker of inspiration sparked. It was time to take her flavors and stories beyond just the lunchroom. What if the community cooking event was only the beginning? What if she organized a weekly gathering, a cooking class or recipe share where families could come together? Each participant could teach or share something special to them, just like the people she had seen today. She could facilitate it all, be that bridge she felt so desperately yearning to create. Her heart raced at the possibility. But then came the familiar swell of doubt. Would they show up? Would anyone care enough to come back just to see the lunch lady? As much as hope danced within her, the insecurities bubbled to the surface again, drawing dark clouds over her bright ideas. The next day, she took a deep breath and returned to the school, her mind swirling with plans. She started with a simple flyer. Hand-drawn hearts decorated the edges, and she titled it, love in every bite. Join us for community cooking nights. Each afternoon, she would leave them on the tables during lunch. When the first day of her initiative arrived, Mary's stomach twisted with nerves. Families filed in, their faces lighted with curiosity. She found herself standing at the front, heart pounding, as she presented her idea. She was met with warm smiles and nods of encouragement, something she hadn't anticipated. Slowly, the space transformed, filled with laughter, chatter, and shared dishes. People passed around bowls of chili, trays of enchiladas, and platters of desserts. As the evening unfolded, she realized this wasn't just about cooking, it was a celebration of community, of lives intertwined by more than just meals. But then, something unexpected happened. One of the football players from yesterday approached her, an excited gleam in his eyes. "Miss Mary, we want to help," he said, before rallying his teammates. They began talking about spreading the word, about being part of something bigger than themselves. Just as the moment sparked hope, it twisted into a question. Would she let her own fears stop her from embracing this movement, a movement fueled by connection and trust? As she looked around, her heart swelled, but doubt lingered. Could she really trust this newfound attention? Would they stick around, or vanish as quickly as the celebrations had begun? The evening had opened a door, but what awaited her on the other side? The weeks rolled by with a strange mix of excitement and unease. Each cooking night brought a different flavor into the mix: a pot of gumbo one week, a pasta-making tutorial the next. Families flowed in and out with hungry hearts and eager smiles. Mary found herself in the thick of it, happier than she'd ever felt, yet shadows of doubt danced just behind her. One evening, as the sun dipped low, casting a warm glow through the cafeteria windows, Mary noticed something that made her heart skip. The once shy football players had taken charge of the evening's activities. They battled it out in a chilly cook-off, laughter echoing through the room. Mary watched as they teased each other over who made the best heat, their competitive spirit turning the evening into a joyful showdown. But there was more. A young girl, perhaps 6 or 7, clung to the football player who had first approached Mary. He knelt to her level, and she whispered something in his ear that made him burst into laughter. All right. You win. Next week, you're our special guest chef," he shouted. The girl beamed, her eyes sparkling with surprise and joy. The camaraderie felt like a whirlpool, pulling everyone closer together. Mary's heart swelled with an indescribable warmth, but just as easily, a flicker of concern crossed her mind. What if they left? What if, like so many fleeting moments before, this too was just smoke in the air? Would these families gather around her in the coming weeks, or was she setting herself up for a crushing fall? As the days flowed together, Mary worked day in and day out, prepping, planning, and piecing together the next week's event. Her school days had transformed. She not only served meals but also orchestrated a symphony of flavors and friendships. The cafeteria buzzed with energy, but with each excited face, her anxieties surged like a relentless tide. What if she failed these children? What if she wasn't enough? One afternoon, while rolling out dough for a community pizza night, she debated whether to reveal her insecurities to the families who had come to rely on her. Would they still choose to show up if they knew she wasn't perfect? Would they still smile her way if she let her doubts peek through? That evening, during a brief lull in the crowd, Mary stepped outside to grab her breath. The air was crisp, and she could hear laughter from inside. Watching through the glass doors, she saw the community come alive with activity, her heart swelling one moment and stinging the next. Just then, the young girl approached her, the football player following close behind. "Miss Mary, can we help with the pizza?" the girl asked, her small hands opening wide with aspiration. Mary knelt down, her eyes meeting the child's earnest gaze. "Of course," she replied, surprised by the flood of affection that filled her heart. Together, they moved back inside, the football player and the girl pulling an array of ingredients onto the table, whipping up toppings with glee. What started as a small gathering transformed into a tapestry of collaboration and creativity. But late into the evening, when the last families trickled out, Mary was left with her thoughts as the cleanup crew emerged. Questions loomed in the shadows. Would this all last? Could she hold on to this fragile web of connections she had slowly spun? She couldn't shake the feeling that something monumental was just on the horizon, waiting to unfold. The next week included a surprise. The footer for a community event flyer was about to set into motion a revelation she hadn't expected. Join us for a day of taste and togetherness. But this time, she would do something bold. Something that could either scatter their newfound connections or strengthen them infinitely. Did she dare take that leap? As the day of taste and togetherness approached, Mary felt her stomach twist with a mix of excitement and terror. What if her big idea backfired? She had invited the entire community to come together, share their favorite recipes, and learn from one another. It was a chance to bridge gaps, create bonds, and maybe, just maybe, spark new friendships. Yet that shadow of doubt loomed large. With a week to go, the porch outside the cafeteria buzzed with planning sessions. Families began to show up, buzzing with ideas about what to cook. Mary watched their enthusiasm swell, her heart swelling with it. But, amidst the clatter of voices, her mind raced. Would they be able to pull it all off? On the morning of the event, Mary arrived at the cafeteria early, the air thick with the scent of optimism. Tables were adorned with vibrant tablecloths, pots and pans glistened under the fluorescent lights, and a palpable energy coursed through the room. A rainbow of ingredients lined the counters, waiting for their moment to shine. As families poured in, the doorbell to the cafeteria rang out like a welcome chime. Parents ordered their children to grab their aprons while teenagers hurriedly set up makeshift stations. Mary absorbed the warm chaos around her, trying to commit every moment to memory. When the event began, her heart raced. She called everyone together. Welcome. Today is about us, our stories, and the food that ties us together. Her voice wavered slightly, but she pressed on, fueled by the warmth of the crowd's smiles. Little by little, families paired up and started to cook, sizzling, chopping, and stirring with laughter echoing around. Then, just as she dared to believe everything might work out, Mary felt a sudden wave of panic. What if she had underestimated the logistics? Crowd control seemed more complicated than she thought. Children dashed around with flour-covered hands while teens mixed sauces, and she struggled to keep track of what was happening. And then it happened. An enthusiastic teen spilt a pot of pasta all across the floor. "Uh-oh," the teen yelled, his face flushing crimson. The laughter from the nearby table shifted, faces momentarily shifting to concern, and for a brief moment, Mary saw the worry ripple through the crowd. What if people lost interest? What if they began to see this as a failure? But then something unexpected happened. Rather than retreating into silence, the community erupted in laughter. "No worries. I've done that 100 times. A spirited father chimed in, followed by others sharing their own cooking mishaps. Mary's heart fluttered. This was at the moment she didn't realize she needed. They weren't just there for perfect execution or flawless dishes, they were there for each other, their shared experiences weaving everything together in a way she hadn't anticipated. The rest of the day flowed seamlessly from that point on. A little chaos transformed into a bonding experience, with families sharing not just recipes but stories of trial and error. Laughter filled the air, love soaked into every dish, and the community grew tighter with each passing hour. As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue across the room, Mary stood on the sidelines, overwhelmed by a wave of gratitude. People were so much more than their mistakes. They were reflections of resilience, joy, and human connection. Yet, beneath that warmth, a new thought formed. She realized that hosting this event was just the beginning of something even greater. What else could she do that could bring these families closer? Just then, the young girl from before tugged on her apron. "Miss Mary, can we do this every week?" That simple question ignited a spark within Mary, one that surged with excitement and uncertainty. Could they truly sustain this? Suddenly, she wasn't just hoping for connection. She felt the pulse of possibility. And as families gathered in a huddle, talking animatedly about food, stories, and everything in between, Mary knew she'd have to contemplate something bold for the future. What would it take to create a movement that celebrated community, one dish at a time? Mary's heart raced as she pondered the young girl's question. Could they really keep up this momentum? The way everyone came together today stirred something deep inside her. It was more than just about food. It was about creating a space where everyone felt welcome, and where stories could flow as freely as the pasta sauce that had once spilled on the floor. That night, Mary sat at her kitchen table, the remnants of a delicious meal serving as her only company. She filled page after page in her notebook with ideas: weekly gatherings, cooking classes, perhaps even a community cookbook showcasing the recipes shared today. The possibilities felt endless, and each idea filled her with a thrill. But alongside the excitement was a shadow of doubt. Was it really possible? Would people commit to a weekly event? Her hands trembled as she stared at the notes, heart resting with the hope that each thought brought. The next morning, Mary decided to dip her toes into the waters of commitment. She arranged a small meeting with the families from yesterday. Donning her most optimistic smile, she hoped it would be contagious. As she entered the cafeteria, the familiar buzz greeted her, but this time it felt different. The air crackled with energy. They were all back, eager to be part of more than just a one-time event. "I want to hear your thoughts about continuing the spirit of yesterday," Mary began, her voice steady and clear. She scanned the room, locking eyes with smiling faces and hopeful glances. "What if we started to meet weekly?" A murmur of excitement swept through the crowd. "I'd love to learn more recipes," a mother with a lively laugh exclaimed. "I want to teach everyone my grandmother's secret pie," a teenage girl chimed in, her eyes sparkling with passion. Mary felt her heart swell. They were all in this together, just like yesterday. As discussion swirled around her, Mary felt a mixture of relief and eagerness. Plans began to form, and without realizing it, they crafted a vision together. A true community kitchen. Children danced in delight, and parents exchanged recipes like whispers of secrets. Everyone pitched in, suggesting themes for each week: one night focusing on comfort food, another exploring international cuisine. But as excitement filled the room, Mary noticed a shift in her heart. A question hung in the air, competing with the excitement. What if some families didn't show up? What if life got in the way? She couldn't ignore that fear gripping her insides. Just as her mind spiraled, she spotted the girl from before, the one who planted this idea. "Miss Mary," she said gently, her voice cutting through the noise. "I want my friends to see how fun this is. I'll bring them. We can share the experience." In that single moment, Mary felt the flutter of courage. This sweet child had unknowingly cradled her growing doubts, pushing back against the fears still clinging to her heart. "Yes," she said, her voice strong, fueled by the overwhelming love she felt all around. "That's the spirit. Let us share this with everyone we care about." Days turned into a week, and as the first official community cooking night drew closer, Mary felt a fire ignite within her. With each passing hour, her doubts morphed into determination. She texted every family she had met, sharing the details enthusiastically. But a nagging doubt still lived in the back of her mind. Would the effort be worth it? Would people really show up? As the first night arrived, she paced the length of the cafeteria. The tables were adorned, the pots and pans ready. Her heart thrummed loudly as she caught glimpses of families arriving, children bounding in with excitement bubbling around them. Yet as the door swung open, revealing a cloud of familiar faces emerging from dusk, Mary's breath hitched. Would this truly be a gathering of stories and togetherness, or just another attempt that brought disappointment? The moment was now. Could this night spark the transformation she imagined, or was she destined to watch it slip through her fingers? Mary held her breath, waiting for the answers that were about to unfold, knowing that the next chapter of their journey was just beginning. The cafeteria buzzed with chatter, children laughing and parents greeting one another. The aroma of freshly cooked pasta wafted through the air, mingling with the sweet scent of cookies baking in the oven. For a moment, Mary let herself relish the warmth of community she had always craved. But as she stood at the front of the room, her heart raced with uncertainty. "Welcome, everyone," she called out, her voice aiming to break through the clamoring excitement. The crowd quieted, shifting their attention, and smiles stretched across eager faces. "I'm so happy to see all of you here tonight. You're not just supporting this event, you're helping create something beautiful together." As she spoke, Mary noticed familiar faces. There was Mr. Gonzalez, who always had a kind word for her, and Ms. Jennings, who entered with a tray piled high with vibrant vegetables. The room felt alive, and yet the little knot of doubt still twisted in her stomach. What should we make tonight? Mary looked around, highlighting the kitchen's many ingredients lined up on the counters. Our theme is, family favorites. The children cheered, and a wave of energy surged through the crowd. But a different kind of tension nestled in her chest. One by one, families lifted their hands, sharing recipes and stories. Mary listened intently. Each tale was a thread weaving the fabric of something far greater than just meals. These were stories of heritage, family traditions, and memories that painted life in vibrant colors. But hidden under that joy was the realization that not everyone would feel included. A shy boy named Ethan stood up. "My mom and dad, they don't know how to cook," he murmured, his little voice barely surfacing above the sounds of clattering spoons. Mary's heart twisted. "Ethan, that's okay. This is a place where we learn together," she reassured him. "We can teach them, too. But I need your help." "What do you want to learn?" "My grandma makes the best tacos," he paused, glancing around as if to invite others into this sacred story. "But I want to learn how to make them too, so my friends can come over." "I love that." Mary jumped on his enthusiasm. "Let's plan a taco night." "Who's in?" Hands shot up, voices shouted with excitement. But when silence crept back in, Mary's heart sank. She had hoped for more. It wasn't that they didn't wish for more families to join, Mary just worried about the little ones who might not have that sense of belonging. "Okay," she continued, gathering her courage. "I realize some of us might feel left out or unsure. But let's remember, we're here to make this a place where everyone belongs. Even if they can't join us tonight, let's reach out." A mother raised her hand. "I have neighbors who could use some help. They just moved in and don't have a kitchen yet." A flurry of ideas erupted, and Mary felt a wash of relief. Maybe she wasn't standing alone after all. Perhaps this gathering was more than about cooking, it was an invitation to connect and uplift one another, neighbors and friends all together. Time flew, laughter echoed, and Mary felt buoyed by the camaraderie unfolding. But somewhere deep inside, doubt still lingered like an unwelcome shadow. Would this continue? As the evening came to a close, families helped pack up the food and leftovers together. People exchanged phone numbers, promising to share recipes and stories beyond this night. And Mary thought, what if they took this even further? Suddenly, a feeling of warmth washed over her. What if we created a community garden? She blurted out, catching everyone's attention. One where everyone can bring their ideas, learn new skills, and grow things together. The room erupted in whispers and excitement, but Mary's heart raced in a different direction. The seeds of her dream were sprouting, but would they nurture it together or allow it to wither once again? With a fragile hope, she glanced around, gathering the strength to believe, could this really be the beginning of something deeper than just a meal? Her fingers trembled slightly as she wrote down notes for the garden. The journey felt daunting. Yet, in that moment, she knew it was vital. And as families continued to chat excitedly, Mary found herself smiling through the uncertainty. The challenges of creating a community felt monumental. But the possibility shimmered like golden sunlight through the leaves. With every small triumph, whispered promise, and shared dish, they were crafting something lasting together. But just as she raised her head, ready to dive into the plans, the door swung open once more. Mary's heart sank slightly. Who could it be now? Would this new arrival bring momentum or stir up more hesitation? The weight of her next steps loomed large, and with it the question hung heavy over her heart: was she ready for this new wave of commitment? Mary's breath caught in her throat as the figure stepped through the door. It was a woman, tall and striking, with curly hair pulled back into a loose bun. The room paused, the chatter dwindling as curious eyes turned towards the newcomer. There was something confident about her presence, something that made Mary's heart race, though she wasn't entirely sure why. "Hello. I'm Clara," the woman introduced herself, her voice warm and vibrant like a spring morning. Mary could sense an immediate shift in the room, a wave of intrigue washing over the families. Clara stepped closer, her eyes glimmering as she scanned the colorful array of ingredients scattered across the counters. Mary felt the weight of the moment. "We're planning a community garden," she announced, trying to capture the energy building around Clara. "A place where everyone can come together and share their skills." A murmur of enthusiasm spread through the crowd. Clara's smile widened, eyes twinkling. "That sounds wonderful. I have a few ideas about gardening that might help." Mary took a breath, drawing strength from Clara's energy. "Oh. Would you like to share some of your gardening knowledge with us?" "Absolutely. I work with a local farm and we've run community projects before," Clara replied, the excitement evident in her voice. "Gardening isn't just about plants. It's about cultivating connections, building trust, and nourishing our community just like what you're doing here tonight." As sparks of inspiration ignited in the room, Mary felt the knot in her stomach begin to loosen. Clara's words resonated with her, illuminating the path ahead like a beacon. It wasn't solely about growing food, it was about growing relationships, nurturing shared understanding and support. Ethan darted up to Clara, eyes wide with hope. "Can we grow tacos?" he asked innocently, making everyone laugh. "Of course. We can grow cilantro, tomatoes, peppers, everything you need for the best tacos in town." Clara beamed, kneeling to meet Ethan's gaze. "And we can learn together, sharing those recipes with everyone who visits the garden." The laughter and joy rippled through the room, connecting families in a web of newfound possibilities. People began discussing what they could contribute, sharing materials, tools, and ideas, propelled by Clara's infectious enthusiasm. As Mary stepped back, she felt the pulse of hope growing stronger, turning her quiet dream into something tangible, something real. But then, stepping into the mix was Mr. Gonzalez, his brow furrowed. "I love this idea, but, are we truly ready for this? What if no one shows up to help?" Mary's heart constricted at the thought. Would it crumble like the doubt that had loomed over her since the beginning? Could they truly turn this spark into a flame, or would it flicker out under the weight of fear? In that moment, she didn't want to dismiss Mr. Gonzalez's concern. She wanted to embrace it. "You're right," she said, her voice steady. "We need everyone's help to make this happen. We want this to be a gathering place for all of us. No one should feel left out, and we each have a role." Now Clara stood, nodding with approval. "Let us outline a plan tonight. If we each commit to bringing at least one family into our garden project, we could transform our community." The fervor of ideas mingled with enthusiasm, plans began to form like puzzle pieces coming together. Mary felt a rush of gratitude toward Clara. This stranger was igniting a fire within her. As conversations swirled around her, she couldn't shake the feeling of uncertainty hiding at the corner of her heart. What if they grew too ambitious? What if it didn't work out? Just then, the door swung open once more, revealing two young mothers carrying baskets, clearly exhausted but smiling. "We heard about the gathering," one said, her voice laced with excitement. We brought some ingredients to help. Mary's heart leaped. Perhaps this was the sign she had been seeking. But just as the night felt to be unfolding beautifully, an anxious whisper echoed in her mind, was it truly enough? In that moment of collective energy and hope, the possibilities felt endless, but the reality of commitment hung heavy. Would they rise to the challenge together, or were they risking their hearts for something that might not flourish? As the laughter danced through the air and plans took shape, Mary couldn't help but wonder, how deep would the roots of this community grow, and what would it take to truly thrive? The aroma of fresh ingredients filled the room, mingling with excited chatter. Kids darted between adults, laughter bubbling up as inspiration flowed like a warm breeze. Mary looked around, absorbing the energy, feeling a fiery determination growing inside her. Clara was right, this was more than just about food, it was about community. Ethan was tugging at Clara, still buzzing with ideas. Can we build tree houses? Maybe a slide? And flowers. Lots of flowers. His enthusiasm was infectious, prompting the room to dream bigger. Clara chuckled, her eyes sparkling. Absolutely. We'll have a magical place for everyone. Garden beds for veggies, a space for the kids to play, and wildflowers that will attract the butterflies. As the plans took shape, Mary saw Mr. Gonzalez shaking his head slightly, that furrow still present on his brow. She walked over to him, determined to address his fears. "What's on your mind, Mr. Gonzalez?" He sighed, the tension in his shoulders visible. "I just worry. We've started projects before, and they fizzle out. Will we be able to keep this going?" Mary felt her pulse quicken. His worries were valid, she had seen passion dwindle when hard work became overwhelming. "This time will be different," she asserted, feeling almost convincing. "We're a team now. Let us establish roles, so no one feels the weight of it all on their shoulders." His gaze softened, considering her words, but doubt lingered in his eyes. She needed to connect, to draw him fully into this venture. "What if you led the planning for the adult workshops? Share your skills, and we can teach the kids as we go. You're respected in this community." A bright light flashed across his face. It wasn't just appreciation but budding belief in possibility. "You'd really trust me with that?" "Absolutely," Mary affirmed. "You have so much wisdom. Besides, isn't that what community is about?" Slowly, a smile crept onto his lips. "Maybe I can give it a shot." Just then, the room erupted with clapping as Clara rose again, a burst of energy igniting around her. "Let us break off into groups and brainstorm. We have ideas, but let us make them concrete." The families dispersed, voices mixing into a lively symphony of plans. Mary felt her heart soar, watching them work together. Yet, amid the lively exchanges and laughter, apprehension crept back in. Would it last? Would people show up for the garden work days? She lingered at the edge, lost in thought when Clara approached her. "You're doing great, Mary. But I can see something's bothering you." Mary hesitated before admitting, "What if it all falls apart? If we reach too far, too quickly, and it fails?" Clara nodded, understanding. "Every venture comes with risks. But look around. These people are invested already. Everyone's excited. You have a spark here, nurture it." Feeling bolstered by Clara's words, Mary started to see a glimmer of hope. She was surrounded by families eager to contribute, ready to plant seeds that could blossom into something worthwhile. But right then, another thought struck her, chilling the warmth of the moment. What if someone doesn't want to participate? What if we overlook those who need this project the most? The weight of her fear settled in the pit of her stomach, a truth she couldn't ignore. As the night wore on, conversations burbled with excitement, plans being drafted into reality. But lurking in the back of her mind was that troubling question. Could they truly unite everyone, or would someone be left behind? A silence fell over the group as Clara turned to the crowd, her gaze sweeping across many hopeful faces. Let us remember, this garden belongs to everyone. Each voice matters. A ripple of agreement flowed, but Mary still felt that tightening knot in her heart. What if they weren't prepared for the challenge? What if the excitement faded, leaving her with promises unfulfilled? The night closed with laughter, but as families made their way out, Mary knew that a new chapter was just beginning. She whispered to herself, "We must do everything we can to bring everyone together." And with that thought, the lingering question surfaced: would they find a way to connect their community or drift apart under the weight of their fears? The weeks melted into months, and Mary's community garden blossomed with vibrant colors. The once empty space behind the school now overflowed with vegetables and flowers, laughter echoing along the paths like music. Families gathered regularly, cultivating not only their crops but friendships too. The garden had become a symbol of hope, and Mary felt her heart swell with every passing day, but with the joy came the weight of responsibility. Each time Mary stood in the garden, watching children dig in the soil, she carried a flickering worry: what if this was only a temporary spark? What if the enthusiasm faded, and the garden fell silent? She couldn't shake the fear that haunted her every time she turned toward the growing greenery. One sunny afternoon, as Mary trimmed the herbs, she noticed a family sitting away from the bustling activity. Their heads were down, their movements slow. It was the Gonzalez family. Mr. Gonzalez's worried face seemed to deepen her concern, particularly when she caught sight of the children fidgeting. She approached them, a warm smile attempting to crack through the unease swirling inside. "Hello. How's everything going?" she asked, her voice tender, but optimism hanging hesitantly in the air. Mr. Gonzalez looked up, a hint of sadness shadowing his eyes. "We want to love this project, Mary, but life has been hectic. I worry that we're not contributing enough." The weight of those words struck Mary hard. Here was a family so eager to be part of something that they could hardly bear the thought of not participating. Without missing a beat, Mary knelt beside them. "Listen," she began, searching for the right words. "This project isn't just about what we grow, it's about the connection we forge. Even when busy, you're still part of the fabric of our community." Hope danced in Mr. Gonzalez's eyes, but doubt lingered. "Will we be missed if we can't come every time?" Mary reached out, placing her hand on his shoulder. "You are invaluable, just like every other family here. This is about all of us supporting each other when life gets heavy. We're in this together." As she spoke, she found herself gaining strength from her belief in their community, a powerful truth building within her. "And without the Gonzalezes, we wouldn't be half as vibrant," Mary continued. "Each of your stories enriches this garden. Please don't ever feel like you aren't enough." This time, the smile on Mr. Gonzalez's face felt genuine, and the light returned to his children's eyes. Feeling encouraged, Mary turned to face the bustling garden again. "Let us plan a family night dedicated to celebrating each story. We can share struggles and victories, every moment counts." As families began to gather around them, excitement filled the air, and the garden buzzed with renewed life. They shared meals, skills, and laughter, crafting a patchwork of individual journeys, all rooted in their blossoming community garden. Days turned into weeks again, but this time, Mary breathed easier. The families embraced their imperfections, their narratives woven together under the sun. The realization settled deep in her heart: this was just a garden, it was a testament to unity, growth, and shared humanity. And as Mary stood in front of the thriving plants one evening, tears glistening in her eyes, she knew for sure that they had collectively cultivated something extraordinary. Together, she whispered to the gathered around her, "We have transformed this place into a sanctuary." The crowd, a vibrant tapestry of laughter and hope, echoed her sentiment. Celebrating all they had accomplished, they were bound together by stories of resilience, friendship, and love. In that moment, beneath a sky painted with the hues of dusk, Mary felt the warmth of fulfillment seep into her bones. Their journey forward would be filled with new challenges, but return to that garden would forever remind them the heart of community lies in collective strength. And just as the final rays of sun dipped below the horizon, Mary knew she had finally taken that leap to share her story beyond the lunchroom and had ignited a passion that would continue to thrive, blooming with every attempt made together. Now, dear friends, before you go, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now and be part of these exclusive stories as they unfold. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and ensure these tales continue to inspire. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this heartwarming conclusion, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support is what makes this community flourish.